I just surrendered. I just said I can't do it anymore, and I had went back to the Bible, and I started reading again, and I'm either all the way in or all the way out with whatever I do. So if you're with me, there's no guesswork. If I'm with my Lord and Savior, I'm all the way in.
What message do you now convey at this stage of your life?
It's a spiritual war in this fallen world. To turn to the truth, seek Him and you shall find. To step outside their comfort zone and accept Christ, knowing that He would heal the land and heal this nation and heal the people. It just seems like such an easy choice for everyone. If you'll just surrender, accept Him as your Savior.
What's up, everybody? So we're back with another episode, and what I want to do now is going to be the first of a little mini series of highlighting some people, some notable, I don't know if I like using the word notable, but just highlighting some Christians who passed away in 2025. And so I'm going to start that little mini series. I'm going to go over 4 people. I'm going to cover Hulk Hogan, John MacArthur, Charlie Kirk, and Vody Bakum. Because I just want to bring, like for Hulk Hogan example for the first episode, I want to bring some awareness to what his messaging was that he was giving a lot in the past, year and a half of his life. And some of you might not be aware of, might surprise some of you. And then the other guys, they have a long track record and a lot of work that they've done that I just want to, bring some exposure to my audience who may or may not be familiar with them. And so before we get into that, some housekeeping. The book is out. You should know that if you follow me at all. You should know my book, Rooted and Rising, just came out. I'm hoping to put this episode out. Today is the 19th, December 19th. So by today, maybe tomorrow, the 20th, if you order it on Amazon, it might be here before Christmas. So Rooted and Rising, search Aaron Simpkins, Rooted and Rising. The book should come up on Amazon. And so check that out. So some other housekeeping, check out my other book, ABC Primer. That's on Amazon. Right behind me here, I'm pointing to it. Quench Protein. Go on sciencesupps.com. Science, S-U-P-P-S. Hello, darling. And so check out sciencesupps.com. Get some of the best clear protein out there. Put in True Strength at checkout for 15% off of that. And so let's jump into that. Let's jump into Hulk Hogan. Why am I talking about Hulk Hogan for Christians who have passed away in 2025? Hulk Hogan was 71 when he passed. And I wanted to highlight him mainly just because his messaging that he gave the past couple of years of his life, year and a half or so, was all about Jesus. It really was. Any public, escaping the word, interview he gave or anything like that. There's multiple channels you can check out. I'll have links in the show notes too to all this on CBN, TBN, some other platforms like Joe Rogan. He talked a lot about his testimony. He talked about a lot about where he's at, and he talked a lot about how he surrendered his life in the last 2 years of his life. He surrendered it to Christ fully. And I know you could look up, obviously, is this the same Hulk Hogan that did this or that? He's been a very popular, very famous figure for 50 years or so. And so, yes, there's a lot of stuff you can look up that you're not going to like of him. And he will fully admit that. So I want to really focus on what was he about the last year and a half of his life. He got baptized, which was very public. And again, his big thing in those interviews, his big thing since his baptism was that he totally surrendered his life to Christ. So that idea of surrender, that gave him a hope that he could live with, a peace that he could live with in this life, that that surpassed anything. This is a guy that had all the riches. This is a guy that had all the fame. This is a guy that had, you know, uh, all the women, all kinds of things you could think about. That um, he had it all in the worldly sense. But he said he would say that the peace and the comfort and the hope that he got through surrendering his life to Christ surpasses all of that by far, and also gave him a purpose, because he talked a little bit. He talked a little bit about beyond his wrestling fame and his fame that he had in general. That, what's a quote from him? He says, the only thing that is really real is the stuff that's going to last forever. And he was talking about that in context of how his wrestling ended, his other this and that, is ended, and his career and all that, his fame is going to go away, and people eventually are going to forget Hulk Hogan. But he knew that his soul was forever, and that his that he knew anything that he did on this earth was going to go away, was going to fade, including his life. He called it, as he was very well aware. He said in one interview that this is just a meat suit. This body is just a meat suit for his eternal soul, and he knew that was going to end. It ended quicker than he expected, but I just really appreciate and really like that he was so much about wanting others to have that same peace, that same hope, that same. He wanted others to experience that, and he just wanted others to be saved. What do you think about that? No comment. So yes, Hulk Hogan, I do believe, is with the Lord right now, and some quotes I got from him. Once you're a Christian, you've accepted Christ as your Savior. You're not going to perish, but you're going to have everlasting life. You'll see this at the end. His favorite verse, which he would wear on his shirt proudly, John 3:16. Basically, anywhere public that he went, you'd see him with a John 3:16 shirt. He said, "Total surrender and dedication to Jesus is was the greatest day of his life. No worries, no hate, no judgment, only love." And again, he would urge people to come to Jesus. He would say things like, "You don't need to be cleaned up. Come to him. He'll clean you up." And I just think that's so cool. I think it's so cool that somebody like him, again, who had it all, was so honest with the fact that he was in the way. He talks about that some too. His ego and all that he had, he was in the way. But he when he totally surrendered his life to Christ, everything changed. And so I just want to highlight Hulk Hogan in terms of his faith, and in terms of what he lived for, and then what he was about in the end of his life. And his favorite verse was John 3:16. I'm sure we all know this, but John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that everyone who believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." Yeah. So I think that's a great place we'll end this episode. Again, there'll be a bunch of show notes for different links to interviews and all that he has. So check those out. You have any last words? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Remember, truth is strength.